thanks to Praxis for funding this project. I have to say that this, first of all, I'm Korina Giaxoglou. I'm the Associate Head of School of LAL for Curriculum and Quality and the Chair of the Board of Studies. And this is important to note because this project came out of the Board of Studies action plan, where we thought that a praxis funding could help us look into data and student views in order to understand better the situation around the awarding gap issues in Lao. So you'll see that the praxis project title is very ambitious. It promises to bridge the awarding gap for students from underrepresented groups and to provide insights and recommendations. And this does remain an aspiration, and there are other initiatives around this that I won't be able to talk about today. So today I will only talk about a part of this project that I wanted to share because I think it poses questions for further exploration. So I will talk about the exploration of the student's sense of belonging and how important this is. So this project, and I have to say that I'm talking today on behalf of a bigger team that includes Chian Khan, Prithvi Shrestha, and Ebony Carberry. So the context, you're all very well aware with the wider context of this project, which is the call for closing the awarding gap across different groups of students and further promoting equality, diversity and inclusion for all students. You do know that this is now a requirement for all higher education institutions, and that this has now become not only a strategic priority for all boards of study in all schools. The recent body of work of literature on awarding gaps, which in the past used to be termed attainment gaps, not anymore, recognizes the need to shy away from a deficit approach to such disparities so that we don't reinforce any deterministic ideas about the differences in outcomes as being a natural result of poor or deficit individual student performance, and rather focus on the pedagogical and institutional factors that contribute to this gap, such as the predominance of whiteness in the curriculum, and this is something that we address through the ICT, the Inclusive Curriculum tool, and also through strengthening a sense of belonging for students from underrepresented groups so that we can support them to achieve their desired outcomes. There's also a recurrent finding has also highlighted the important role of intersectionality in academic outcomes so that we don't look at these different groups in terms of one characteristic, but look at them more holistically. So to understand, so in order to kind of shy away from a deficit approach, we sought in this project to understand first of all the disparities in LAL, so where these lie, so using the dashboards data, and also part of the project that I won't talk about was also to look at one particular module with high student population and high Black student population that didn't actually show an awarding gap, and find out why that was. Then we ended up in the context of this project to focus more on finding out more on what students thought about belonging. So first of all, just to say a couple of words about where we are in LAL in terms of these awarding gaps. Our data analytics, we did an analysis of over 3 years of performance data and looked at the pass rate gaps across all student groups in our modules, and noted a notable decrease in the Black student mental health pass rate gap in 2021. But however, as you very well know, these data are not really comparable, especially during the years of COVID, with the changes to assessment that led to a decrease to the Black student pass rate gap across the university and an increase in the mental health pass rate gap. This is not, so we'll need to keep monitoring these data with the help of the APS team once we are officially out of COVID, which we are not entirely yet. Still, despite these issues and these fluctuations year on year that don't give us a real concrete image, we can still note that there is an issue. And I mean, in LAL, we also have an issue with the low number of students in general, but also Black students. So that doesn't give us a very good sense either. But still, we do acknowledge that there is a gap. So we need to find out more about what makes what makes these students we need to find out the barriers and the facilitators for these students. Now for this project we didn't manage to have a targeted, we didn't want actually to target um, students, Black students or students with disabilities, for a number of reasons. One was that there was a project in parallel that had started to do that, and they realized that they went through the ethics process and then ended up not having the time to actually conduct the project. So that posed a challenge, a practical challenge. But also we initially wanted to find out the sense of belonging across all students, and then use those insights to target to see what other kind of interventions and research we could do with specific groups. So we did a student consultative forum, and we asked students um, the way how they felt they had developed a sense of belonging to different learning communities at the Open University. And we also asked them to tell us a bit more about the community that they felt closer to, and the types of connections that they developed, and what these meant to them. We also asked them to tell us a bit more about whether their sense of belonging had changed or was changing during their study, and pinpoint any specific points or incidents in their learning journey where that change in the sense of belonging happened, so that we could, develop a kind of a sense of a timeline of belonging development. And finally, we asked them directly what factors they felt supported the development of their sense of belonging, and what, if anything, we could do differently to support them. Now, in the student consultative forum, we didn't get as many responses as we would have hoped. So 21 students is not a great number, but is a small sample. But still, I think that there were some interesting insights that came out of this that we can use for further exploration. So first of all, obviously, I mean, that's quite an expected outcome. An expected insight was that the majority of participants noted that their sense of belonging had negatively changed during the pandemic. But positively, a third of students confirmed that they had a high sense of belonging, and that this did correspond to them feeling less lonely and isolated. So it does reinforce the literature finding that a sense of belonging is crucial, and we should be doing what we can to support that. But I think the unexpected finding was that there were some students that were expressed very strongly their view that they didn't actually need to feel a sense of belonging in a distance learning university. So, and that this was not an expectation on their part as self-directed learners. Now, obviously, that's linked to their own positioning as independent and self-directed, but I think it does pose some questions around how, how we approach belonging, and the fact that we might that this might not be relevant for all of our students. So it does challenge some of our assumptions about belonging. And finally, students did relate their sense of belonging to the creation of supportive learning communities, not so much all the types of extracurriculum activities. So to sum up, what students felt supported their sense of belonging, it was their relationship with their tutor, the tutorials that they attended, their one-to-one correspondence and pastoral care. Again, that they suggested that this could be something that could be done more, and that this needed to be conducted by someone other than their tutor, which I think is also a very interesting suggestion. Tutor group forums and module-wide forums, self-supported study groups, residential schools, the SST team, and even the website are all acknowledged and recognized as key facilitators for their study. So that actually reinforces what we're already doing, and I think sometimes it's also good to know that some of the things that we find important are actually recognized and valued by our students. And the only suggestion that came from that was the idea, as I said, that the need for a one-to-one pastoral care from someone outside the tutor across their study, a dedicated person, which links to the personal learning advisor scheme, which is currently under development in the university. Now, interestingly, there's when the when we looked at intersectionality in those responses, there were um, references to disability, to hearing impairment in these responses. And on the positive side, a lot of students did praise the disability support team as being amazing in their support for students with hearing loss. But at the same time, I think it does flag up the need to be a lot more alert to the specific requirements of these students, because I think sometimes we just talk about accessibility in very general terms. And this is where the suggestion about the need to support students throughout their study came from students who did have who faced challenges over the year around their personal and professional lives. So there, the links to the personal learning advisor scheme would be really important. Okay, so I know this is a small sample, this is very limited, but as I said, this is part of the project that I wanted to communicate today. There are many other initiatives that are built around the awarding gaps, as you know, and there's a lot of work being done at the moment to bridge the different these different bits of work. Yes. So anyone who's interested in developing, in exploring the sense of belonging further, please do get in touch, because I think this is there is scope for revisiting understandings and assumptions about belonging across different schools at the OU. And this is where I'll end. Thank you.